Yeah.
Were they upset after you wrote it? Did they like the way you wrote it?
City council passed unanimously, except the mayor didn't vote. But it passed, and then along with that, we passed. It was the last thing I did as the chair before the mayor wouldn't reappoint me. Was get the general plan updated and put business park there instead of industrial.
I am a guest.
I am a guest.
Really? I am a guest. It's all.
You guys went real creative.
I like it. I like it from simply.
I do.
Yeah.
Never forget it.
There's complex. Yeah, but they're so simple, you'll forget it.
Yeah.
That's how I am.
Yeah, I'll be asking next time.
Dallas would be given a vacation.
Yeah, for sure.
So if we approve the minutes tonight, will those dates we talked about last time be firm and concrete?
Sort of. Unless something else comes up, we have to cancel the meeting, yeah.
Yeah. Is that what, 2 or 3 months? You have it like in the, on a wing or in the middle, third week instead of the first or
Yeah, there'll be.
second, yeah.
Let's try that.
You want to pause?
Yeah.
We have a quorum now, we have a meeting.
Howdy. No.
Yeah, Dennis, as long as once we've formalized that, that's the schedule for this year. Unless something else comes up that we have to cancel a meeting for.
Yeah.
No. Hey, what's that? I was like, what are you giving me?
This this bump or a handshake.
I think I'm. Yeah, well, that's what it is. Yeah. I don't recognize you with that.
It's got.
Yes.
Came over to get it from you.
There's a bro party now. Oh, just curious.
That's why I was talking about this one. It's like, I don't feel like
It was tall. And I got.
Dennis, how you doing?
Good, how are you, Scott?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Been moving down that seat?
Me?
Oh, it's the,
Am I in the
you're
wrong?
throwing us off.
There's an extra chair.
There is an extra chair,
Oh, is there an extra chair?
an extra screen or something.
No, actually, it's not. That's where Neil goes.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I thought you guys were switched.
How are you?
I knew we would. Wouldn't have a problem with Dennis tonight.
Yeah. I don't.
I'd have to lower your chair, you're pretty elevated.
I think I'll like-
One of them I already decided.
I got long legs.
Is it, I don't
I
know.
had to lower mine so the feet would touch the floor.
You what?
I raised mine so they don't.
You can spin around in circles easier.
You and I are on
Yeah.
the same page.
It's easier to.
We were talking about at the time the mayor didn't.
Did we get that patriarchal blessing rescheduled?
You know, we had it rescheduled and then the picture.
Oh, wow. So you were.
No, the
part
picture
of it.
was
You
sick
wrote
that time.
Good.
She's had like she's had it scheduled 3 times.
Is that right?
Like, man,
Well,
Oh, that's.
I'm
what's going on?
fine with, no.
Her birthday's at the end of the month, so she kind of wants to have it before then.
How old
That's
is
what
she?
commercial zones.
Turn 16, leap day.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. It's a leapling.
3 or 4 years old.
This is her 4th official birthday. So
Last thing I want.
Wait for your baby.
You want a tattoo? Go to Layton. Go to Clear. Wherever. Go to Clinton. Yes. Okay.
When she was 5 years old.
By all means, please do.
If you want one, go for it. Hold on, my wife found out. daughter-in-law for years. My wife did a lot of research, actually, it's safe.
That is 100% true.
Yeah.
It's not just cleanliness, it's also the proper procedure. Because there's a certain place in years that you can actually yeah. So it's not with everyone, but with some individuals,
That's what my dad was doing.
they can have some complications if they
Oh, yeah?
it's the right spot.
Are you the new planning commission?
No, I just want.
This is
Oh, this is a
where the action is at, right?
Who is the council liaison now? Who is the city council liaison to the planning commission?
Oh.
Yeah,
Yeah. Thought you were just rubbing the microphone.
what's that? Jordan is, okay.
Oh, Jordan's our liaison?
I'll look. They could be signing us. over. Who was it? Was it,
No, it was,
uh,
no,
uh,
no.
Mary?
My mind is, I can see his face and I can never remember his name. He just got elected, re-elected.
Yes.
No.
Paul Watson.
Paul Watson. But I also did W, I cannot remember what's his last name, yeah. He stayed,
No, it's still there.
okay, well, he stayed on then, huh? Okay. Okay. That's what I
You
can
can-
keep razzing.
You can try just holding the down to mute yours.
Maybe
Which button? No, just hold it.
Getting feedback.
No, it's still there. Was it raining when you walked in? Just like heavy?
Not really.
I walked in only a minute before you did, so it wasn't anything more.
That's long, he's coming in.
Well, we got 3 minutes to figure it out.
Static on the microphones.
It's you, Lon.
We couldn't start without you.
What's your 100 marching deal all about?
Oh, this was the high school. And the band.
Oh, okay.
They only march 100?
There was some.
Is the Zoom call open?
100 times 3 then.
Sorry, no, is the Zoom call open? Is it coming from that? Watch, is somebody else?
I can still hear it.
It seems less.
Well, let's just have a quick meeting and not worry about it.
Yeah.
Take the can.
You're a piano player now too. Impressive.
Oh, no, we got a problem.
Not this again.
Deus ex machina.
Jordan looks a lot like Paul though.
My iPad's at 6 o'clock. We okay to start? Okay. Welcome to the Planning Commission meeting tonight. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. We have all of the planning commissioners in attendance. We will go ahead and have our invocation by Commissioner Dallas Johnson and pledge allegiance by Commissioner Hunter. Commissioner Johnson.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we're so grateful for the blessings that we have being in this area in the United States of America. We're grateful for the opportunity to serve and to think of others and help others in this capacity. We ask Thee to bless this meeting, that Thy Spirit might be here, that we can have a spirit of kindness and gentleness in our communications, and that things can be done properly. And we pray for these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We have tonight's agenda before us. It's been posted in accordance with state law. Can take a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Motion passes. Next, we have our meeting minutes from our January 16th meeting. They were posted as part of the packet. Did anyone have any comments or corrections or updates need to be made? If not, we take a motion to adopt the minutes.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion to adopt the minutes. We have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Next item on the agenda is a period of public comment. And we'll go ahead. This is a opportunity for the public to address the planning commission regarding items not on our agenda that are scheduled for public hearings. So we'll go ahead and open it up. And we'll go ahead and close public hearing or public comment. Next item is a public hearing for an ordinance amendment proposed to add an option to have tattoo parlor as a permitted use in business park zone. I'm not sure who's got that one. I'm curious to hear the rationale behind this one.
Okay, I've got this one. So the history behind this is that recently the city amended the zoning map from industrial to business park on that flex industrial piece. I think Planning Commission made a recommendation. We were worried about the potential of having more storage units on that project if things went sideways or whatever. So we just kind of did a little bit of a offensive move, which we don't do a lot with the city, but sometimes we do. But then when it reached the city council level, there was concern that if they build those flex office buildings and a tattoo parlor wanted to go into those, they couldn't, where they could have with the industrial. And so it was very specific to what we imagined could go into that specific project. It does have implications if the business park zone were applied further, more widely. Currently, the business park zone has not really been one that's been used. There's 2 spots in the city now that have it. The one spot is where Russin Mortuary was, and they used that because it was specifically listed as a permitted use, and they liked that, or the bank liked it, or somebody liked it. And then, of course, now this flex project has it. So city council looked at it in their last work meeting and felt that it was almost like an effort to, in order for this to go through, maybe to, I don't know, compromise to be able to expand that use, even though the zone changed.
Okay. This is scheduled for a public hearing tonight. Was there anything else, Noah?
Nope. The proposed text is in the packet. It's a pretty simple one. I'm sure there's more than one way you could do this. And I guess in the staff report, I will add that that's kind of where city council was at, but we reviewed other cities and what they do and how they regulate that land use. And some cities allow them in the general commercial zone. They're pretty liberal with where you can't do them. The Davis County Health Department does regulate them as far as their sanitary and their training, and because they are, we're dealing with needles and public health type things. But as far as a land use, in the past, the communities don't want a high concentration of those, because then you kind of create a district. You might have a bar and a tattoo place and it becomes I guess locally unwanted land use. The dollar loans of the world and all of those things are kind of on the same. And in all honesty, I think the views towards tattoos have probably changed over time. I think they're a little bit more mainstream now. I'm not saying that it still couldn't create a situation if we allowed them in war zones where, I don't know, if there's higher crime or higher incidents of loitering or other kind of things going on around that use. It seems like the data isn't really conclusive as far as whether or not it's more of a perceived risk of, a use and creating an atmosphere in a neighborhood that might negatively affect it. Currently, the only place in the whole ordinance that even references it is in the industrial zone. The business park zone is different than industrial, of course, but it does have is probably the most similar zone that we have to the industrial zone that allows, it's like light industrial kind of.
I guess I'd put neighborhood services in between the two.
Yeah. Neighborhood services zone, you do have a storage unit in that zone that became kind of controversial when the city allowed that. But the idea behind a neighborhood services are a lot of times those houses that are on major arterial roads, and they want to convert from being a house to a office. That's kind of what the idea behind that zone is, like really small scale development, but it does allow.
I guess I
some of
was
those
looking at what
uses.
the permitted uses are between the two, and it seems like it's a little closer to industrial than what business park is.
Yeah. I'm not sure about that, but the question is, do we want to add tattoo body art shop as a permitted use in this zone? Or I'm assuming you can look at other zones if you did want to add it in other zones. So city council just needs a recommendation either way.
Thank you. This is scheduled for a public hearing tonight, so go ahead and open public hearing. Same rules apply as what I explained about the previous public comment period. We'll go ahead and close public hearing now. Back to the commission. I'll go ahead and speak first. I don't think that we even need to add it. I don't think it should be added in business park zone number one. That was never the intent of what was allowed in the business park zone. As I mentioned earlier, I wrote the business park zone, so I can kind of tell you what the intent. I can tell you what the intent was, and that was not the intent of those to be in that zone. That zone was set to be more of a place where we could try and attract professional work, professional offices, things like that. And I don't think a tattoo parlor necessarily fits in with that intent. If you look at what's in their research services, parks, offices, office buildings, schools, restaurants, I don't see tattoo and body shop piercing shops fitting in with those other uses.
Where would you put it?
Where'd I put tattoos? I'd leave it in industrial, and that's it.
Is this the only one that's changing? I mean, is
This
this
is
the
the only
one
one
that's
they
missing
proposed.
between the two, industrial and business park?
we have,
Currently in industrial.
Yeah, it's in industrial, but I mean, the city council is requesting this specifically for tattoos. Like, why are we not including any others?
we could recommend a different one if we feel like there's a different one that would better fit. That was my point. If we have to recommend one, I'd recommend neighborhood services because that's closer to what industrial is. But my preference and my recommendation and the way I'll vote is to it's just industrial and leave it there and that's it. I don't think we need to have it more opportunities for those types of businesses to come into Syracuse.
Yeah, the problem is the property in question that they want to make it a permitted use in is already rezoned to business park.
Do you have an application from one that wants to come in?
No, where city council anticipated a tattoo parlor may go is now zoned business park.
Correct. But if we do zone it that way, then we open it up other places. If we were to use that, it's the law of unintended consequences. We make one change to do one certain small thing, we think, and then it can end up being cause. I've seen that before happen with city ordinances that they've made a change for one thing and then, oh, guess what? Now someone on the other side of the city wants the same thing. And that wasn't the intention, but because you changed it
Right.
in the zone, it's allowed.
Yeah, I guess the funeral home might start doing tattoos on the side or something.
Yep.
I think I disagree. I
Okay.
don't see any problem with adding that in. I think tattoo and body piercing shops are pretty mainstream now. I don't know that it wouldn't fall under an industrial zone to me. It seems more like it's a pretty mainstream retail business. I don't see any problem adding it.
So should we want to put in commercial then?
I can put in commercial too.
I think of the three options that are listed there, I don't think it necessarily belongs in business park. I can see it staying in industrial, but I can also see it being in general commercial as well.
I think we have to
I
have
think
it
if
somewhere.
if it goes to general commercial, a law of unintended consequences, which what you're talking may be impacted even more so in that.
Yeah.
Whether or not that's the kind of business we want in Syracuse, it's not necessarily up to us. It's up to city council and whatnot, and of course the people at that point. But yeah, of the three, I think the only two that it fits is in industrial or general commercial. I would be more apt to say it belongs in industrial because of opening up general commercial can cause. I mean, we were in a situation a few years ago where we were looking at having how many car washes put into our city, and nobody wants that many car washes. So it's a little different with a tattoo and piercing shop, but it follows the same line of thinking.
Yeah, in our research, we found that some cities have a maximum distance that they can, or a minimum distance that they can be, or a maximum number in the city or something per capita or something like that too. Sometimes they do that.
That might not be a bad idea.
And that would include like distance to a school, right?
Yeah, sometimes, I mean, there's all kinds of things you can do. You could say you can't be within a mile of another tattoo shop, can't be within whatever to a school or anything that you're concerned about. Or sometimes they specifically say you cannot be underage, under 18. There's some specifics as far as their business license is concerned.
We've heard from this end of the table. How about the other side? Any thoughts on this side?
I was just approaching the mic. I really like Noah's comments and in my previous experiences, that's what we talked about was, limiting the number in the city, distance from key places like an elementary school and public education things and stuff. And so I'm leaning more towards, almost what Commissioner or Chair Helwell said, leaving it in the industrial, but putting limits on how many we can have in the city and what it can be around. I think we have to be very careful of where it's built.
Thank you. I'm seeing some head nods, but other thoughts?
My thoughts are pretty much the same as you've expressed and Bill's expressed. With an industrial.
Okay. But we can, unless there's more comment, we could take a motion or comment. And this is the motion would be a recommendation to city council to approve the change or to not approve the change.
Yeah, I'll move.
Okay.
I move that there be no change, that we recommend there be no change to the current ordinance in the city about tattoo and body piercing shops and leave it in the industrial code
Okay.
area of the code.
We have a motion of a second.
Seconded.
Okay, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes with Commissioner Hunter voting nay. Next one we have is a public hearing for an ordinance amendment concerning irrigation water requirements for developers. Noah or Royce?
Yeah, I've got this one too.
Okay.
Okay, so city council talked about this one as well in their last work session. Currently, there's kind of a convoluted formula that we use to tell people how much money they owe us for an in lieu fee. Well, I guess let me back up one step further, just a broad case. I mean, I think you guys are aware of the situation, but for all development, we collect water shares. This is for secondary waters, for the untreated landscaping water. Of course, there's culinary water that serves development too, but that's there's impact fees and things that they have to pay and connection fees. But in order to have the water to water the landscaping, they're required to give water shares, and traditionally those come from the farmers, and you can buy them from the farmers. But recently, it's been really hard to find them because there's actually almost an equal amount of needed shares and shares out there, but sometimes because people aren't willing to sell, or just the dynamics of having hundreds of different shareholders out there and timing and things, sometimes they're not available, but the development is ready to come through. And so a few years ago, the city created an in lieu fee process where they could essentially pay for shares. And the city has an ability to basically call up the canal company or the water company and order more shares, just because we're a city and we have a municipal system. Not anybody can just do that. And so, but the problem with that is that it does cost the city money. And so that's why we try to collect the amount from the city. And so in the past, at one time, you could do 50% farmer shares, 50% in lieu fee. They've changed that percentage recently up to a third can be, or you have to bring 2/3 farmer shares, and then 1/3 can be purchases in lieu. But this amendment is just concerning the formula that we use. In the past, it said we'd take the 12 years of assessed fees from the water district and do the hokey pokey and do a dance and times it by 5, and it out pops a number. I'm kidding, but it's kind of convoluted. And now they're just saying, well, look, let's just pass through that fee so that and make it more straightforward, so that we'll charge whatever the district is charging us. And that required us to negotiate with the district to be able to do like a lump sum up front, because before they were charging we still have to pay annual assessment fees, but it was more of an annual assessment deal that was a little more volatile. But now that we can buy it more up front, we'll pass those costs through to the developer. As a warning, the city council is also looking at maybe changing that percentage of what percentage of the required water shares can be used towards the in lieu fee. But that will be for a different discussion. City council is going to talk about that in the upcoming work session. But this one just has to do with how we arrive at the math, and you can see it on the screen here. 12 years, yada, yada. the rate of increase, all that. Now it just says the amount of the fee in lieu shall be calculated by multiplying the number of acre feet for which the fee in lieu is being paid by the rate per acre feet charged by the water supplier.
Oh.
So.
That's because attorneys can't do math.
I think it's a very straightforward way to do it. This is scheduled for a public hearing tonight, so we'll go ahead and open a public hearing and close the public hearing. So back to the commission. I think it's pretty straightforward. I like this a lot better than the way it was before.
It's, it's straightforward and it's simple.
Yeah.
Is there,
If somebody came to say, how do you come up with that fee? It's very easy to explain this.
Well, and water shares that's like property values are going sky high, so that's gonna change too.
Yep.
is there a timing where we would assess the fee? I mean, they would pay it, and are we immediately buying it from them, or is there a time where the fee could go up and they've paid a certain amount, and so then we're stuck with the difference?
The fees do go up over time, but not between the time that we collect it and go and buy it, because the way we've been doing it is that when development happens and it's a final plat that needs to be recorded, we'll make sure that we have the water shares and we'll collect the money from the developer. And then it will sit in a bank account till the end of the year. And then Robert Wiley, our public works director, will go to the board meeting at the end of the year and report on how many shares we've collected, how much money, and then he'll buy them. So there shouldn't be a situation where the city's left holding the buck.
Back.
Yeah. So it's not volatile enough that, say, a development happens in February and it sits in the bank all year, and then in December he goes and buys them, and it won't have significantly increased during that time.
No.
Okay.
Barring some cataclysm.
And the other, this says it's 67%, but if you just scroll up to the top of this page, is that, it says 50%? Nope. So should it be 67%? Just one more line up that you can't see off the top of the page. In satisfaction of up to 50% of the shares. Should that be 67? Second line on this page.
Right below your arrow.
Dedicating and conveying water rights or water shares as a project improvement satisfaction up to 50%.
Yeah, it should. That's a good catch. I wonder if this amendment was made on not the most recent part. I can look this up. Let's see.
There's a different percentage for residential versus commercial, right? Am I right about that?
I just did a global search and it didn't, 67 did not show up on any.
Here, let's.
So that's why I didn't.
No, we made the change. Let me. Oh, I can look it up one second.
No, while you're looking that up, just a quick question. What if there's a farmer doesn't want to sell shares? How do we approach that?
So some projects, if they can't find water shares, they're just up a creek without a paddle.
There's no secondary water then.
Yeah, well, no, they just won't get approval. You know,
That's a requirement.
they have to give those shares to the city. Okay, so here's the straight from the website. And we were down in H, right, where it says 50%. Yeah, let's just make sure here. It says, is it?
Yeah, it still says 50%.
So it's 50%.
I know that it is not 50%. Option
maybe we
for
can fix that
developer's
later.
option for projects.
I think
I need to have that.
I think the city attorneys
Yeah.
disagree with that.
I'm not a lawyer, but
Oh,
I was
there you go.
reading through the.
And there's
They-
the 3% there.
For some reason. Okay, yeah, okay, here we go. Look. So option for fee in lieu dedication at the developer's option for project for which preliminary plat approval or commercial site plan approval has been provided prior to March 15, 2022, 50%, right? And then it says beginning March 22nd, projects for which preliminary plat or commercial site plan approvals were received after 2022,
Satisfaction 33.
What's
Then
the purpose
it's-
of keeping the old one in there?
33. So I think we left the old one in there because there are still some that are relying on that have been approved and still building out
Okay.
from before 2022. I remember that was a discussion they had with when they were trying to decide whether or not to strike that part.
But this being a
not.
subset of H, where that's I, is that an issue?
Proposed
HI. Yeah.
It's on H dot too.
We want it to apply to ones that are,
What if we were to combine H?
so there's
and
3
paragraphs H
category.
and I. So you just have H, go back to the website.
Okay.
I think it already does that. H talks about prior to March of 2022. I talks about after March 15 of 2022. And if you look at the last portion of paragraph I, it says in satisfaction of up to 33% of the shares required by the
Okay.
subsection as applicable, only if the circumstances listed in H1 through H3 are applicable. So it refers back to HN.
Okay.
So we should be good there.
Okay.
I think we're good.
That's why we have the lawyer.
Yep.
Yeah. May not be good at math, but they're good at keeping track.
Double fine print.
So there's 3 categories: old school, middle school, and then the new.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any comment of the Council of the Commission? Otherwise, we can take a motion.
This is a recommendation.
This is also a recommendation to City Council. Yes.
Yeah, I think it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I'll move that we recommend to City Council to have the changes as written in the proposed document.
Okay. Thank you. Motion of second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Next item on the agenda is to adjourn to work session. Someone want to make a motion for that, please?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, we are now in work session. So Department Business, Councilman Watson, I guess here, you get to be with us for another year.
Yep.
Woohoo! Glad to have you.
I missed the meeting where we got assignments, so whoever doesn't show up gets assigned to planning. commission. No, just kidding. I told him I was happy to do it again. And I just want to get a tattoo whenever I go get my hair cut. I don't know what the big deal is. No, just.
Well, you can't.
I know, great. No, I don't have any updates right now, but I will be your liaison for the next year. So,
We're glad to have you.
okay, thank you.
Thank you. City Attorney, any updates for us?
I got nothing, but thank you.
Okay. I thought you were gonna tell us you're leaving too or something.
I had to ask Noah if I had anything and he says I don't. So that's good enough for me.
Well, can we ask Noah if he has anything?
Yeah.
Well, actually, I'm gonna do that right now. No, we'll have any upcoming agenda items.
Yeah, we got a site plan. Let's see. Yeah, Earthworks up on 193. We need to do architectural review committee and then we'll have it in to you guys.
Good.
Then we have, like I mentioned before, they're talking about maybe doing changing the percentages on the in lieu fee for water. Yeah, I think that's it. There's a lot of things swirling around, but no applications. So
Okay. Thanks. Our training, we have anything scheduled for that?
Yep. So this is going to be a fairly informal one. So I wanted to go over some resources that are available to you guys. So the first one is the American Planning Association. Thank you. Sorry, I can do this. So the American Planning Association is they're a national association. They have chapters in each state. So the Utah chapter, if you'd like to become a member, you can. They have a great mailing list, great resource to their Journal of the American Planning Association as well. That has a bunch of peer-reviewed articles that are constantly updating. if you're interested in that. And the city will cover that membership while you're a planning commissioner. They also do a local conference every fall, and then they do another conference in the spring that's somewhere else in the state usually. Last year was, I think, Vernal. Is that right? And they had, I think, Kanab the year before that. So they kind of go to different places. Those are usually a couple of days. And again, the city's happy to pay for any training you'd like to do there. But that's really kind of the limit of their scope. They work with the Wasatch Front Regional Council, the Utah League of Cities and Towns.
With the ones like that conference you just had on there, the city pays for the entrance fee, or the city would cover like all costs to go down to it? I think it's
So
like a
the
fee.
spring conference usually is like a travel type situation.
Right. That's what they're showing us in Cedar City.
And then the fall one is usually along the Wasatch Front. In my experience, we've never paid for a planning commissioner to travel in it like
That was kind of my expectation.
yeah, but
Question.
I could ask that, but I haven't seen that precedent set.
That would what I would expect to have happen, especially where there's an option to have one closer.
I mean, if there's one in Hawaii, I'll let you know when it is.
Okay, sounds good.
Noah, along with this membership, doesn't it come with that monthly newsletter and magazine that you can look through and see what other?
Yeah, we could sign all of you guys up. They have a planning commission rate and all that. And
I
yeah,
just
there's
thought
a
it was
magazine.
Beneficial when I was on the planning commission in another city that, it was good to see that magazine, see what others were doing, and to attend the local conference. We just had one that was in Ogden, but it really helps us to know where they're at.
Yeah, the local conferences are actually really well done. I would encourage you guys to, I know you guys all work and stuff. Well, most of you guys work, but they have a tract, I think is the right word, where it's all elected and appointed officials stuff.
But I would like to propose or suggest that we all, you just put us all on members of that, and we can have discussions about items that make them up.
I like that.
Yeah, if you guys want to, we'll just sign y'all up. We just don't want to, if you're not interested, we don't want to waste it, but
So moved.
I'd be interested. Yeah, it'd be interesting to have it.
They, and besides that, you get some really good training with it. I have some really good information that they provide for you online and other things.
yeah, there's always new things, especially with the legislature changing things up on a constant basis. So it's good to stay apprised of those things.
Never such a thing as too much knowledge. So I'm good.
Okay.
Great. Yeah, so they're a great resource. Like we can do that. And really, I mean, it's pretty open-ended with their stuff. So for example, every year we have the legislative sessions, and they will go through and do bill trackers. They have updates. And this has been really helpful for us because it seems like every year the state does more stuff with planning. So they've had some pretty sweeping bills in the past couple of years that have changed quite a bit of what we're able to regulate. So they can go through all of this detail stuff that, for a lot of times we'll have a public hearing, for example, and somebody will come up and say, well, why aren't you guys doing anything about accessory dwellings or whatever? Right. And we can say, oh, well, the state doesn't allow us to do much anymore. Right. Which is, it's a good to have that reference. It's also good to know and be up to date on what's going on there. So, but yeah, really it's pretty wide open. There's also the Utah League of Cities and Towns. So they do a conference. It's every spring. And their conferences are really good. They're more focused on the legislative elements of things, but they also focus on working with the state ombudsman who works with property rights and being able to train and provide resources to municipal leaders like yourselves. So
Do they still have in the September, I think it's September, maybe it's October, do they used to have a planning day or a planner's day? Do they still have that?
I'm not sure. Does sound familiar?
During their conference, I know they also have, planning related items. I don't think they have a day. I know they come and they'll travel around and they'll do trainings for planning commissions, and then they published a book on powers and duties. I want to say we passed out some books
you did
recently, but if you guys don't have one or want one, that we could order.
Yeah, the new.
If you want one,
we
we
don't
can
have
get you. How many should we? 1, 2? Everybody else have a powers and duties book?
Yeah, I've got one.
Oh,
Mine,
I've not.
mine doesn't look like.
Three?
Mine
Yeah,
mine looks different than that one.
Mine was like blue.
Is that the 2023 version? Oh, fancy.
Wow.
New version.
Bougie.
Maybe we need it all.
Did it come spiral bound?
Yeah, they're always spiral bound.
Yeah, the reason I asked was that before they used to have, like the conference was like 3 days. And they had one day that they had planning topics that were of interest to planning commissions or planners and things like that. So I'm just curious if they did that still.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I want to say they just kind of have it sprinkled in now.
Okay.
I think it was 4 books.
4 books. Okay. That's a really great resource. It has a bunch of tabs in there. So if you do have questions, I mean, a lot of stuff is also here on the website. So if you go to their Utah League of Cities and Towns website and click on the resources tab here, it takes you to this page. So they have all sorts of information here. So you can look at anything from, how the city's budgeted. A lot of this stuff is going to be kind of outside the scope of the planning commission. We're primarily involved here, somewhat here, and that's kind of it. But there are a ton of resources. They have these videos, and I was thinking tonight, oh, maybe we'll watch a video. They're like at least an hour long. So get some popcorn, watch a planning video. But yeah, these are also, they have these presentations that they've created. And again, they're really focused on these legislative land use updates, which are very helpful because, at least for me, I mean, I've been doing this for years and it still feels like sometimes I'm surprised by what the legislature comes out with. So it's always good to be up to date. All right. So there's also, so if you're interested too in grants as well, because a lot of times in terms of getting stuff done in a city, because we do have limited funding, grants are where it's at. So if we have ideas, it's great to have ideas, but a lot of times making the money work is what brings those ideas to fruition. So there are great programs here. They've got references for a bunch of different grants that are available if you want to see trails expanded and whatnot. So if any of you are interested in following grants at all, I do my best to follow what's going on with grant availability. But again, this is another great resource. If you see like, oh, I want to see that section of trail completed, this is a good resource to start out with.
A thought for city council. At one point, the city had a grant writer on staff,
Right.
and
Yeah,
that was
I
her
think,
job. And she did such a good job that a JUB hired her away. But she brought in a lot of money for the city with grants.
Yeah, it's readily available. There's quite a bit out there. It's just a matter of finding it, writing the grant, and getting the money. And a lot of stuff, of course, is going to be city council related too. I mean, if you do come across a grant, there's a lot of match money, and that involves city council and all that kind of stuff. So I guess if what I bring this up to say, if you do see a project you'd like done, you see a grant that connects with that, feel free to just let us know and we can pursue that. We definitely don't expect you guys to write any grants. So
You guys can you can provide the match if you want though.
well, yeah, by all means. All right. So then we've also, we have the Land Use Academy. Oh, I'm gonna back it up and go to their actual website. Here we go. The Land Use Academy of Utah. I went to the wrong one again.
That's the Utah League Cities of Town.
Yeah.
Second line.
Where did it go?
It was up a little bit. Scroll up. Scroll up.
One more up.
Scroll.
Yeah. There we go. Oh, yes. No, that's in there somewhere. Hold on.
Scroll up. Right there. Land Use Academy.
Right there.
There we go. So here we go. Keeps going back.
It's your
My
first tab.
apologies. It is there. That's funny. I was on my computer in my office earlier. Yeah, this is a different website than I was on earlier today. But the Utah Land Use Institute. Yeah, again, conferences here. This is they work in connection with the Utah League of Cities and Towns a lot. But there's going to be a lot of resources available. And again, I don't feel like this is the right one. Is that,
If you want, you can just,
must change it just between 5:30 and now. You've changed their website.
if you want, Royce, you could even just email us the links.
That would be great. Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, so I guess again, this is another big one though. So kind of those are the big three: the Utah APA, the Utah League of Cities and Towns, and then the Land Use Institute. So these guys, they have a blog they maintain, and then the Land Use Library is very helpful. There's a lot of local planners that have posted things here. So when a lot of times in terms of planning stuff, when you go to look for like, well, what's planning law about, whatever, there's some case in Maryland or something, which is nice to know on like a federal level, but we do have a lot of Utah specific issues, and this goes through a tremendous amount of information. So they have videos of trainings and conferences and presentations, and it really is just endless, the information that they have here. So let's see, and also pull that up too. So the Utah Land Use and Development Management Act is, and this is a great resource here too. This stuff regulates a lot of things that we do functionally, and tells us what we can and cannot do with a wide range of land use issues. So LEDMA is essentially, it's just one chapter of the state code, but it goes over everything from what property rights look like in terms of whether you live in a city or don't live in a city, and what you can apply for and what you can't, to the types of decisions that we can make, types of decisions that we can't make. Like recently, for example, and that we're going to be potentially looking into this one. Last year, the state took away our ability to bring final plats to Planning Commission. Final plats and plat amendments, which it kind of makes sense because they're sort of rubber stamps, but they basically said this is taking up a lot of time. Developers don't like this, so we're going to remove the ability to go through that process, which has kind of been the way things have gone with the legislature for the past few years. So, but what they do is it's now in the code here, and this is codified state law. We can go in and take a look at it, and then we can make amendments in accordance with it. So for a good example would be there's the regulation that we had, was this 4 years ago now? I think it was 2020. There was a state bill that took away our ability to regulate for single family housing outside of a development agreement regulated subdivision. Took away our ability to regulate aesthetics. So we used to have this brick, rock, stone requirement, certain percentages based on the type of exterior material, and developers weren't super excited about that. So they went to the state and got it changed. So we can still regulate. And again, it's in this LEDMA section. We can still regulate it if there's a development agreement. But we've had a few single family homes that have gone up since then, well, quite a few. And most of those have been in development agreement areas, so they've still been regulated, but we have had some where it's been really nice for people because they can call in and say, hey, what are your regulations? And we don't have any anymore. So even if they are on our books, we can't enforce them. So another example would be ADUs, accessory dwelling units. We used to have requirements to put in fire separation and different utility connections or controls and access and all these things that like kind of life safety stuff. We also had some city code things that were outside of life safety. And I want to say this was 2 years ago. In an attempt to make ADUs easier to obtain, they amended the LEDMA section to make it so that we couldn't restrict those. So they were allowed everywhere. And we couldn't enforce fire safety or any of that kind of stuff. So I can ask somebody to put in parking, and I can also ask them to do a what do you call that? A deed restriction for owner occupancy if they're going to be renting out a basement, for example. But outside of that, they're pretty open to do what they want. So, and that has simplified it quite a bit because we've had some people who they spent thousands and thousands of dollars to put in these accessory dwelling units, and that was kind of the intent to make it easier for them. So this is a great resource. This is a little more technical though, because it is literally just state code, so it can be kind of a dry read. But they did create this website, which is a little easier to go through. And there's references to the ombudsman here as well. The state ombudsman is kind of the arbitrator. Is that the right word of private property rights for the state? Is that it? Sure. Yeah, that's the one. So they and he does a lot of training too with these different organizations. So I know I've been in different different conferences and things, and this property rights ombudsman will be there to explain what certain property rights are, and that's very helpful for us as planners, but also as a planning commission to know where our rights end, essentially, because a lot of the stuff that we do in this body is administrative, as in terms of the actual decision making. So when it comes to administrative rights, that's very connected to the vested property rights that are connected to a property. So I think that's a really useful thing to know. So again, this website's a great one. So those are kind of the four that I would go for, but really there are kind of endless connections. But really, if you're interested in pursuing, we'll get you guys signed up for the APA, and I'll let you know about that. If you're interested in pursuing any of these other organizations, going to conferences, getting involved in their resources, and have any questions, feel free to let us know. We want to make sure you guys are informed. So, and all this again for those who haven't or aren't aware, state code, and this is again a recent change to LEDMA. All planning commission members are required to have 4 hours of training every year. So if you go to a conference, that is considered training, and you can count that. This training right now is also considered training. If you attend 12 meetings throughout the year, that's considered 1 hour of training. So they need to make sure that the planning commission members throughout the state are up to date on what the code is and what their rights are. So that's all I have. Are there any questions about any of that?
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay, and next one is commission reports. Anything from the commission to report? Okay, we'll take a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. We are adjourned until our next meeting. Thanks, everybody.